my friends. Ladies and gentlemen, dinner is now open in the back in the corner. Dinner is now open. Please go, feel free, get your food, come down, come back, sit down, and then we'll start programming. Thank you. We will begin our programming in about 1 minute.
There are many reasons to have hope.
What's yours?
My kids.
My wife.
My mom.
My friends.
Co-workers.
My future. And their future.
Where you're full of hope.
Oh my God!
Or searching for it.
We're here right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
To connect.
To share.
To grow.
To learn.
To heal.
And to remember.
Hope is right here.
Hope is right here.
Hope is right here. Welcome
To Hope for Stomach Cancers.
2026.
Patient Empowerment.
Summit.
on? Okay. That was such
There are many reasons.
To have hope.
that video.
What's yours?
My kids.
My wife.
Caregivers, doctors, partners, and
My
advocates
mom.
across the country.
My friends.
Co-workers.
My future.
Test. Okay.
And their future.
Seeing this room filled with patients, caregivers, doctors, researchers, partners, and advocates from across
you're
the
full of
country
hope.
and even around the world is extremely
Or searching for it.
because every person here has a reason for being here, and every
We're
reason
here
matters.
right now.
Right
Some
now.
of you are
Right
here
now.
Right
because you were just diagnosed and you're searching for answers.
To connect.
Some of you are caregivers who are walking beside someone you love. Some of you are survivors, advocates, clinicians, or researchers working to change the future of this disease. But all of us are here because we believe in something simple and powerful, that patients deserve knowledge, patients deserve connection, and patients deserve hope. The Patient Empowerment Summit was created so that no one facing stomach cancer would feel isolated, unheard, or unprepared. This space exists so we can learn from each other, ask hard questions, and bridge the gaps between science and real life. Because the truth is, information alone isn't enough. What truly changes people is hearing another human story. That's why we launched something very special this year. Empowering Voices, a new media project designed to amplify the real experiences of people living with stomach cancer. It's built around one simple belief, that the voices of patients and caregivers are not just powerful, they are essential. Through our Speakers Bureau, community ambassadors, and insight advocates, we're building a national network of people living with stomach cancer who are trained and supported to share their stories, educate communities, inform research, and inspire others who are walking this path. Because when patients speak, the world listens differently. Doctors listen differently. Researchers listen differently. The general public listens differently. And most importantly, other patients feel less alone. Tonight, you'll meet some of these voices. People who have turned fear into advocacy, pain into purpose, and survival into service. They are part of a growing movement of patient leaders who are helping shape the future of stomach cancer awareness and care. And this is only the beginning. Over the next few days, we will learn together, connect deeply, and strengthen the community that exists far beyond this room. Because this isn't a conference. It's a village, a stomach cancer village, and every single person here is a part of it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your voice. This is your Patient Empowerment Summit. Ask the questions, share your story. And thank you for believing with us that there is always hope. Welcome to the Hope for Stomach Cancer Patient Empowerment Summit. And now I'd like to invite someone who has been instrumental in building this community and supporting patients every day. Please join me in welcoming Irasema Chavez.
Good evening, everyone. It's truly an honor to welcome you all to our 5th Patient Empowerment Summit. We are so excited to be back in Washington, D.C. My name is Irasema Chavez, and in 2015, I was diagnosed with stage 2 stomach cancer at the age of 34. That diagnosis changed my life in ways I never expected, but it also introduced me to a community of incredible people who are committed to raising awareness and supporting those going through this journey as well. Being here with you all is a powerful reminder that none of us walk this path alone. I hope this weekend brings meaningful conversations, valuable knowledge, and continued hope for everyone affected by this terrible disease. Before we get started with our program this weekend, I would like to thank our generous sponsors for this incredible program. Please give them a round of applause. Our Wi-Fi information for when we are in the meeting space is currently up on the screen. If you are staying in the hotel, Wi-Fi is complimentary. Restrooms can be found down the hall to the left. Kamal is our medic for this evening and all day tomorrow. You can see her there. Can you stand for 2 seconds just so that everybody can see your face? And I would now like to call up our co-chair, Emi Lee.
Welcome everyone. My name is Emi, and I was a caregiver to my husband Tay, who was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer when he was 38 and fought for 3 years before he passed away in 2022. Tay was passionate about sharing knowledge about the disease and supporting and helping other patients and caregivers in the community. I'm so honored to be here today to continue to help other patients and caregivers connect, support each other, and learn from each other. Thank you for being here. We'll begin tonight by empowering our voices with an interactive experience designed to bring our community together through shared stories and reflection. I'd like to welcome Diane Mulligan, President of MNC Communications, a public relations firm committed to representing inspirational people, organizations, products, and services. For the past 17 years, she and her team have worked with clients ranging from Lung Cancer Foundation of America to King Soopers, Kroger, to now Hope for Stomach Cancer. Forecasting challenges and turning situations into opportunities is her secret sauce for brand protection PR. Formerly, Diane was the news director at Channel 7 in Denver, managing the newsroom during the Columbine High School shootings. As senior news editor for NBC News in New York City, she oversaw coverage of countless major stories. Please welcome Diane to the stage.
Hi everybody, how are you? It's so nice to see you. Thank you so much for letting me be part of this amazing experience today. I have to tell you that when we were first introduced to Aki, and she told us her story, it just grabbed my heart. And what you need to know is, I have been doing this kind of work, as you heard, for decades, and when I first started, the patients not only weren't invited, they were told they couldn't speak at conferences. And I was horrified that the people who were dealing with what they were dealing with were not talking to the doctors and to the researchers. Because when you tell your story, it is absolutely amazing for them to get so inspired. And they were missing out on so much. And that has changed now. And that means that your story can make that researcher get up an extra day or spend an extra hour or think, maybe I should try this. Your story can make the difference for a doctor in how they treat you. Things that you never thought about. I did a podcast yesterday with the patient and the doctor, and it was on subcutaneous injections. And so people don't for many situations, you don't have to go in for IVs anymore. They can just give you the injection. It means many, many less hours in the chair. But one of the things that the patient said to the doctor is, I don't have to go home with that stupid bandage on my arm that just reminds me of what's going on. And the doctor said, I never knew that. I never knew that that impacted you that way. And that would be something that seems to be maybe so small, but could mean so much to a patient. So the fact that industry is supporting this, the partnering that's going on with Hope for Stomach Cancer so that we can do these types of trainings and we can help you tell your stories in a way that's going to have impact, that's going to stop the researchers and the doctors in their tracks, that's going to inspire them to work even harder. I can't think of anything that's more fun and important to be part of. So thank you for letting us do this. I really appreciate it. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is your elevator pitch. Why is that important? Anybody have any ideas on why an elevator pitch would be important? How many messages do you think you've been hit with today from different people? Right? Whether you got up this morning and you were scrolling maybe a little bit I never scroll. I don't know about the rest of you, but my phone isn't attached to my hip. Then you turn on the TV, or you listen to the radio, or you were seeing billboards, or then you were talking to one another. You think about the amount of information that today you took in. How important is it to be able to tell a story in a way that you touch somebody, that you make them stop and say, oh, I didn't know that. That's what we go for. That's exactly what we go for. And those are your stories because your stories are the authentic stories. I remember the first time I heard that somebody couldn't live or could live without a stomach. And it stopped me dead in my tracks. I had absolutely no idea. How many of you, before you went through all this, knew that you didn't really need your stomach? Anybody? Right? You guys did. Okay, well, we have two brainiacs back here, so I just want you all to know. Good for you guys.
Mine is only because I had a gastric bypass.
Wait. How do you say it again?
I had a gastric bypass 25 years ago, so I knew that I could live with a little remnant of stomach, but I didn't know that the whole thing could come out.
Okay, I feel better now. No, I don't feel so bad. That's great. So I think one of the things that we first think about when we're thinking about putting our story together is, why are you so passionate about this? What matters? Why take the time to come here on a weekend? Why does this matter to you, and why does it matter that we tell other people about our story? Now, I promised Stacy I was going to wait for her to grab something and put it in her mouth before I came over to her. And this is the perfect time. So let's do it, Stacy. Stacy, why do you think it's so important? Why does it matter to you to tell your story?
Because it can help other people. It educates people. Once I get better at this, I'll have a very clear way to get my point across with as few words as possible. And people want to ask questions about it. So
I love that, and that's true. That's it exactly. Andy, I'm starting, guys, just so you know. I will get to all of you. Just wait. But Andy and Stacy are part of the Speakers Bureau. So Andy, tell me a little bit about why it's important to you.
Well, for me, because when I was diagnosed in August of 2021, I was given 3 to 6 months to live, which is kind of a punch to the stomach, if you will. And August of 2023, I was still fighting, and I was told that my cancer was gone. And from that point forward, I just wanted to be able to give other people hope and tell my story. And that's why I'm advocating now and parts of lots of different support groups, and just kind of trying to pay it forward with a second chance.
I love that. It's about giving other people hope. That's what I heard was the reason. Would you guys all agree that that's a great reason to be here and to talk? Also, how about because you want other people to know about this disease so that maybe they can get diagnosed earlier, right? When they have more treatment options that are available. That's another reason to do it. Also, so that people don't feel alone, that they feel part of a community, that when you are going through something like this, to have other people to go through it with you, who understand you, who get you, that's huge. So that's really important. Because you are so much more than your diagnosis. So one of the things that I want to say to you is that when you are telling your story, lots of people will tell you, give your name, talk about your diagnosis, talk about what you want people to know, and then give them a call to action. And you're going to hear that over and over and over again. All of that is fine, but none of that grabbed my heart. None of that made me stop and say, what, are you kidding? So I think it's really important that we all think about how we're telling our story. Your story is not the date that you were diagnosed. It is to you, but is it to the person that you're talking to? Is that date an important part of your story? Or is the important part of the story, because you got the treatment that you got, that you're now able to spend so much more time with loved ones and you weren't sure that that was going to be possible? So I want you to think about, what is it about your story that's unique? Everybody has that thing that's unique. Priscilla, where are you? Can you come up? I know. I'm not coming back. Don't worry. I only have to do this once because you guys aren't going to invite me back. Tell us your story.
My story starts with my mom. I was 14 when I lost my mom, and she was 42 years old. A couple years later, we lost her brother. And fast forward to 2019, when I found out about the CDH1 stomach mutation, it ran through our family and took 7 family members between the time that we lost my mom up to the time that I found out about this genetic mutation. So it literally wiped my family out. And some of them I didn't even get the chance to know because I was barely born or growing with my own life. But when I found out it got to me, by that time my cousins lost a mom and a sister. And that's what opened up Pandora's box with this genetic mutation. And I went to get tested, found out I was positive. Okay, what does that mean? I have an 80% chance of getting stomach cancer, 60% chance of getting breast cancer. And I was just overwhelmed at the time, didn't know what this meant for my life, my kids, their futures. And I went ahead and prophylactically removed my stomach because of the 80% chance of me getting stomach cancer. I was a time-ticking bomb, is what the doctors said. So I removed my stomach, not knowing that a week later, the stomach got dissected and they send it off to lab to get tested. It came back beginning stages of stomach cancer. I was in tears and I was like, oh my gosh, my family is not going to think I'm crazy for doing this, because my family thought I was crazy for removing my entire stomach. And, but I went with my heart and my gut, and I wanted to be here for my kids. I have 3 wonderful boys and my wonderful husband. And that was a long journey of learning how to endure life without a stomach. Knowing that I literally, I could have not had this chance. And I mean, if I didn't know, I probably wouldn't have been here telling my story right now, talking to you guys and trying to help other people and just with my own story. And my kids, my oldest son right now, he's 20. He'll be 21 this September. And he's next. He's the one who I would try to get him to come with me, but he's such an introvert. One of these years, he's going to come. You guys are going to meet my son. But he's, we'll find out in September if he has this genetic mutation. And I pray to God he doesn't because, but then again, look at it in a positive way. If he does, I'm here for him. And we have a whole family, a whole community of everybody here. That is going to, I know that you guys would, if something were to happen to me, I know you guys would take care, look out after my family and my boys. So we have to encourage and educate each other and help each other. This is like a family of community where we just get to know each other and we understand each other. And we understand each other like no other. Like, it's hard to explain, but it's like another family.
No, let's give her a round of applause. Priscilla, the first thing you said was you were talking about the 7 family members, and I heard people gasp. That's what you want. This is a room that hears these kinds of stories all the time, and yet I still heard people say, what? If you can figure out what that what is, and you can get that into the beginning of your story, you've got them. So you do that. Think about that what is, okay? Or if there's an analogy that you can use. If you're not someone who wants to share the what, I totally get that. But is there an analogy about, for instance, the number of people every year who get stomach cancer? An average stadium in this country holds between 75 and 100,000 people. Okay? Think of an average stadium if you've been to a game lately where everybody's doing the wave. Think about everybody who's doing the wave having stomach cancer. That gives a visual. That's what you want to do. You want to think about putting that type of a thing in your story because it will make such a difference in how people understand what you're saying. So you are going to obviously talk about who you are. And Priscilla did a fabulous job at that. Really fabulous. But if you know where you're going, well, we know where this is going over here. Do you need some help? You got it? Okay. No, it's no problem. If you know where you're going, then you have an end. I never start an elevator pitch without having a close in mind. Know where you're going to stop, and then that way you won't feel like you're rambling. I don't think you were rambling. You were telling your story, but you didn't know where to stop your story, right? Okay, so that's something that you can all think about. What's the end that you're getting to? Because as you're talking to somebody, you might have 10 different things that are going through your head. Or they might ask you all kinds of different questions. But if you know where you're going, then you have an off-ramp to say, you know, this is where you're going to go. You're going to go to Hope for Stomach Cancer's website. Now, it's not called Hope for Stomach Cancer. It's called STOCAN, and that stands for stomach cancer. So do that whole thing so that they remember it. It's stocan.org. And that's where you can find even more information, especially if you've had somebody in your family who's been diagnosed, because there is a hereditary factor. But there's other factors as well. But have that end so that you know where you're going with your story, especially if you're thinking, I am on an elevator, and I maybe have 30 seconds here, and I really do want to talk with somebody. I'm going to come back over here because Stacy, your open is the best open I've ever heard, so come up here if you would. Tell them you're open on how you approach people, because I just love this.
I feel like you guys are going to pass this test, but it's really targeted to people who are not in this room. So, did you guys know that seahorses don't have stomachs? Neither do I. And then I go into my spiel. So, that's my opener.
I love that. I think that's fun. Isn't that fun? The other thing is, I was talking with another Speakers Bureau member Thursday, and he said, you know, when I tell people that I don't have a stomach, it just kind of turns them off and they just want to like run. Okay. I said, so how are you telling them? Are you saying, oh man, I don't have a stomach and this is really hard, and, which is all true. Okay, that's true. But if you can say, you know what's amazing? I don't have a stomach and I'm still able to eat and live great, and it changes the whole feeling of that conversation. So that's something else I want you to think about, is how are you talking to the people and what's your demeanor? Remember, 80% to 90% of communication is your demeanor, how you look, how you're presenting yourself. What's coming out of here, talk about taking the pressure off, what's coming out of your mouth is only about 10% of the impact you're making when you're telling somebody a story. It's all about who you are. So if you're thinking, I'm telling somebody because this is really important, and this could make a difference for them, and this could make a difference for their family, and I want to educate them, well, that's a real positive thing to be able to do. So think of when you're telling your story, think of it that way, even if you're having a bad day. Because it is true, it's scary to think that, man, you could lose your stomach. Especially for someone who's never heard that before. It's just such a foreign concept. And our stomachs are such a huge part, at least they're a huge part of my life. I know because I'm constantly trying to keep my stomach down. But the reality is eating is a huge part of our life. Not having a stomach is a huge part of your life. And how does that work? And that's what you want, is you want to open that conversation up so people are like, how does that work? And now it's an interesting conversation, and the story is going, and you're really making an impact with them. So I think that's really important. You want to focus on one message, okay? Priscilla's message was very clear. I have to really tell you, we all got what your one message was, and how this is hereditary, and how you found out, and you took action, and now you're taking action for your children. Her message is very clear. If you're a caregiver, or have been a caregiver, your message may be a little bit different. Would you agree? You want to come up, Lisa? So remember, we're going for 30 to 45 seconds. Okay, now, before you all freak out, I want you to know when you watch the news, 30 seconds is the average length of a news story that you're seeing David Muir or one of those guys on the news talking about when they're doing their indexes and that type of thing. You can get a lot of information in. You don't have to rush. You can really tell a good story in 30 seconds. Go.
My name's Lisa. My husband Brent was a submariner who was exposed to the ion radiation, and he got the H. pylori, the ulcer, and then ended up with stomach cancer due to his military service. So as a veteran's wife, I always tie it back to his military service. And I'm kind of blunt to the point. My Oklahoma senators and congressmen, I tell them, your lack of action and the lack of care from the military killed my husband. And that's the way I start my conversation with them.
And they pay attention to her.
Yeah, I think they cringe when I walk in.
No, actually, they've invited you back, as I understand.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They invited me back, and they actually emailed me.
That's right. If you're talking to the media, they're looking for sound bites. That's a sound bite. The bottom line here is that you want to make sure that you're giving enough of a story that they can pull a quote, or they can pull approximately 7 seconds of sound from what you're telling them. You can still give them details, but a good reporter is going to write the details. You're like the color commentary on whatever your favorite sports show is that you're watching. You know, they've got the guy who's calling the plays, right? And he's telling you exactly what's happening, but then they have the person sitting next to the guy who's the color commentator, who's the one who's actually been on the field or coached. All of that, that's what you are. That's what you're bringing. And that's why when we're looking to put people on the air to talk about stomach cancer, there's nothing more important than the patient. Okay, don't tell the doctors I said that. But the reality is that it's the patient, it's your story that's going to absolutely make a difference. If somebody is listening, they're going to remember you. They're not going to remember the doctor. They're going to remember you. And if they're going to tell somebody they know, I heard this thing, did you know this? They're going to be referring to whoever the patient was in the story. So your role is so very, very important. So I want you to remember that, because that's really important for you to get whoever you're talking to say, wait, really? I didn't know that. You're going for that, grabbing them. It's going to make such a difference. The other thing you want to know, you want to decide is, what do you want them to take away from your conversation? Symptoms were missed, early detection matters, second opinions are a must. Learn about H. pylori, hereditary, CDH1. What is it that you want them to take? Stick to that, especially if it's a short. You can always go back and talk to somebody later, but if you're first talking to them, that's how you're, especially in a cocktail party or whatever, I mean, people want to know what your life is like. So you want to make sure that you want to have that. How are you going to pull them in? So that's where we're talking about those are you kidding moments. Really? You're doing this? I can't believe this. So Ruben, I love how I just kind of mosey on over. Ruben gave his elevator speech the other day on one of our meetings, and I just thought you knocked it out of the park. Okay, no pressure. But anyway, would you go ahead and do that now?
Hi, my name's Ruben. I was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer spread to my liver, my lymph nodes. Surgery was not an option for me. I went through 30 rounds of chemo. I just completed 112 rounds of immunotherapy, which I'm still on. I recently had my PET scan just last week, a couple weeks ago, and got my results in the other day, and I'm still no evidence of disease. This coming April, next month will be 5 years for me. So if I can do it, everybody can do it, and I'm just here to spread the word that there is hope. With all the new medications and places like this that we come to learn more, and there is hope. So just keep on fighting and keep on going, and you guys will do it.
Thank you. Okay, what's the one thing you guys took away from what he said? There's hope. 30 rounds. There's hope. 30 rounds. Yep, the 30 and the 120. When you said that the other night, and you led with that on your speech, I did the we were on Zoom, but that's the first thing that I heard. I was like, what? It's like when you said 7 people in my family had died from it, and people were dying like crazy from it, and this is why I did this. It just stops you. So make sure that that's in there. And then you want to obviously say, there's hope, and there's some place for you to go for more information. So that's the other thing that I really hope that you remember to say at the end, is that there is some place that you can go where you're going to not only find good information and help, because there's a lot of places we can go for not so good information, but that you're going to go for, this is a place where you can go and you can feel really good about the information because it's so important. So you guys are going to be talking to legislators, many of you, right? You want to adapt what you're talking about for the legislator that you're talking to. So Frank, I'm coming your way. Frank lives in California, right, Frank?
I live in Georgia.
Oh, you live in Georgia. That's right, you live in Georgia. Okay.
I still live in California.
Okay. Okay, Aki, I'm coming back to you. I'm sorry. Aki lives in California. Aki, what would you say to the California legislator or to the staff that they may not know about California and stomach cancer that would be a lead that would bring them right in?
California is the stomach cancer capital of the United States. We have over 4,000 newly diagnosed patients annually in the state of California. Crazy.
And you know who's going to think that's crazy? Either the legislator or his or her staff. So we want to, that, in that scenario, that is a perfect lead for your elevator pitch or when you're talking to the legislator. Now, if somebody like Aki is already there and she starts and she's already told them, then you want to talk about how this disease has impacted you. What difference has it made in your life? How have things changed? Can I ask you to come up and Kirk, yes? Come on up. We're live streaming, Kirk, so I want to make sure they get to see your handsome face here. Can you tell me a little bit about how this has impacted you?
Yes, 2018, when my wife first had this symptom, the doctor or her PCP did not go through the testing, and so waited until last year, 2024, when she went in and she advocated herself and got it. The EGD and found out she had the cancer. And that impacted us tremendously. It felt like the end of the world for us because it was the first in our family. And also as the primary provider and also care for her, it devastated our family and also the community as well.
I can understand that. Thank you for sharing that. We appreciate it so much. Frank, now I'm coming back to you. You thought you got off the hook, but you didn't. I'm sorry. So, can you stand up and tell us your story?
Yeah, hi, I'm Frank Blandon. I'm originally from Nicaragua. I was diagnosed at 37. I was initially misdiagnosed with testicular cancer. And after going through many different second opinions, my diagnosis was changed to stage 4 stomach cancer. And I've been doing chemotherapy and immunotherapy since 2024. And I used to be a software engineer, and now I spend my time mainly advocating for the importance of asking for a second opinion and trying to provide as much hope as possible to newly diagnosed stomach cancer patients.
And where should people find out more information?
They can find more information at stokan.org.
There you go. That ending is the hardest part. The nice thing is that we can give you the ending right now. The ending can always be, you can find out more information at stokan.org, right? But there may be other things. Frank's ending is, a second opinion is really, really important. If you feel like you're not getting the kind of treatment that you need, you better get that second opinion and go for it and feel comfortable about it. And that's great. The other thing that's really fun is that sometimes there are things in your story that you are going to think are totally incidental, like macaroni and cheese. And so when we were talking to Andy and we were working with Andy, and he was talking about all the things that were going on, one of the things he said is that my wife made this mean macaroni and cheese, and it was the one thing I could really eat. I'm like, that is one of the top things I want you to say in your story. He's like, macaroni and cheese? And like, everybody gets macaroni and cheese. And if you're on a radio show, or you're on a morning news show and people are brushing their teeth in the other room or making lunch for the kids before they go to school, and you're talking about, I don't have a stomach, but man, my wife makes a mean macaroni and cheese, I'm stopping. I mean, I'm going to listen to that. Would you agree? And so it's really important. So, Andy, tell us a little bit more about that, will you please?
Well, I actually do have my stomach still.
Yes. Okay.
And I no longer am able to eat mac and cheese because my stomach has gotten a lot bigger because I ate so much mac and cheese when I had cancer. And it was just Kraft mac and cheese out of a box. But at the time, it was the favorite part of my day. Yeah. Because as we all know, a day in the life of a stomach cancer patient does not bring you a whole lot of joy. So I tried to find joy in the simple things. And one of those simple things was boxed Kraft mac and cheese, probably 5 times a week. You know, and when it wasn't that, it was ramen noodles. But that was my joy because I was a chef by trade. I worked in culinary arts for 35, 40 years. And my stomach cheated on me. You know, I got stomach cancer, ironically. So all the things that I enjoyed in life were usually focused around food, and that my joy was taken away, and she brought it back to me by Kraft box mac and cheese.
Wait, I heard there was herb butter in this. Do you want grilled cheese? That's the grilled cheese. Oh, the grilled cheese has the herb butter. Okay.
That's another story.
What's funny about that is that, man, I heard that mac and cheese and I thought everybody who is listening or watching can relate to that. So I want you to think about right now, is there something in your story that everybody can relate to? Or something in your story that you've told to people who you got that look like, really? And you thought, well, that was not what I was expecting. Does anybody have that happen? Is there anybody who can, yes? Great. What is your name?
Sonia Harris. I thought you were doing a poll. I didn't
know. You can do it. Go, Sonia, go. Stand on up. You look so beautiful in that outfit. Are you kidding me? Okay. What's the thing that you told people that all of a sudden they were like, wow, and you were like, that's what got you?
That I've been fighting cancer since 2001.
Wow.
And that I've had 3 different major, rare, well, breast is not rare, but 2 rare cancers, appendix and then stomach. And they were back and forth about whether it was the same one, and they determined that it's indeed a true gastric cancer, so stomach cancer separate from the appendix cancer. And most people do the wow.
Yeah. You heard the people around here do the wow. Let's give this lady a round of applause. Nice job. It's the wow that you're going for. It's the wow, and it's the getting out of the story, because you always want to leave them wanting more, right? We always want them to come back and ask more. The more that we can do that, the better we can do it. Now, Claudio over here, there he goes. He's like, oh man, she talked to me beforehand. Next time I come, no one's going to talk to me beforehand, I know. Come on up here. So you've had some practice because you told me your story.
Yes.
Okay. And we bonded over the story and all that, and I was like, and I said, well, I don't even know how many times, right? So I'd like you, think about 30 seconds, think about how you're going to get out of the story. Think about the most important things that you can say in here so people are like, oh, man, and they remember you.
Just bear with me. Let me see if I could put it in this way. So, December 30th, 2024, went into my gastro. Sorry if I get a little emotional.
It's okay.
Woke up, saw his face. Who thought 24 years later, 9/11 would be the cause of my stomach cancer? So now I tell all my friends who were down there with me, don't let anything go by. Get checked. Mine is environmental. 24 years later. But it's a story that needs to be told. Even though it's 25 years later, it still impacts so many lives. Over 70 different cancers have been diagnosed from 9/11. I know, I am one.
No, thank you. I said, well, because I was in 9/11. And I've been lucky, obviously. But that's about as authentic as it gets. And if you saw Claudio in an interview, or you were in the elevator with Claudio, or tonight when you go to bed, who are you going to think about? Claudio. Because it was from the heart. Not a whole lot. It was 30 seconds. Good job, you're the first one, thank you. But the point is that you know his why. No question. You know his passion. It was clear. And I thought you did a phenomenal job. And you held it together. Thank you. Because it's very hard sometimes to hold it together, right? And that management of the emotion so that enough of it can come out, but you don't lose it completely. That's something else to think about in your story. So if there are words that trigger you, don't use them. Think about how you can tell the story. Because if you, and this may sound, I just want you, if you can bring the emotion, I always think of it bringing it right here, right to the top of my neck, and no further. But that will absolutely make you so memorable. And when you're memorable, you can change people's lives. And that's what you're here to do. You're here to connect. You're here to learn. You're here to raise awareness. You're here to educate. You're here to tell people about this disease that may not know anything about this disease. And when you do, you can change their lives. And that's what this is about. So I appreciate how amazing Claudio did with that. And he has a very unique story. Just like Frank has a unique story. Second opinions are so very, very important. And then there's Stacy with the seahorses, but we won't get into that right now. So I think that's really important. What other calls to action? Why do you tell people your stories? I want to hear from some people that I haven't heard from yet. In fact, can I talk with you? Thank you. Can you come up? Is that possible? And you're going to have to tell me your name again. I'm so sorry. Debbie, that's right. Of all the names for me not to get, that was a bad one, so come on up.
I'm Debbie. The reason I am living could be a question that anyone in this room could answer for themselves, and every answer could be different. But for me, the reason I am living, the first letter of each of those words means trial. I'm alive today because I wasn't afforded the ability to enter a trial, and it worked. I'm NED for the last 3 years, and it wouldn't have happened without the trial. It's not an avenue that we hear a lot about, but it's important. If the results had been different, it still would have been worth it, because what I'm wishing for is hope for future generations, that by people that go into trials can help find cures going forward at an earlier stage. So it's just a different avenue to think about, but an important one.
Excellent. Oh, what a great job, huh? Debbie, that was fabulous. We are so clear on what matters to her. It's a different message, and think about all the different messages already in the past 30 minutes that we've heard that matter to each one of you. That's why it's so important that you all tell your story. And that's why it's so important for you to think about how to tell it. Debbie, you were right about 30, 45 seconds. If you had just gotten that Stocan thing in there. No, I'm only kidding. But I thought that was great. Who else? Who have we talked? We haven't talked to anybody from this table over here yet. Oh man, people are looking away. No, but you're done eating. Which one of you wants to work with? All right, thank you. This is Brittany. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is an IRL moment in real life. Brittany and I have never met in person before. So nice to see you.
Hi everyone, I'm Brittany, and I found out I had stomach cancer after choking while I was working in the hospital as a nurse. This was back in 2021. I had a random choking event and advocated for myself to get into the GI doctor right away, who did a scope, and we found that I had stage 1 stomach cancer at that time. And I've been cured since surgery, which was in July of 2021.
Outstanding. So how many years have you been cured? 21, 25. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, so you got to say 5 in July. Reason, she's saying 21, and I'm thinking, okay, now I'm old, I know, 26, it's only 21, Diane, get with the... But it's really important that you work those numbers in a way that nobody is sitting here doing math in their head. And if you have lots of numbers, you want to work them in a way that nobody's doing math in their head. But I thought that was fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this table's next. Who wants to talk to me? Oh my goodness, this lady was not even going to give me eye contact. Okay. There you go.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Christina, and I found out that I had stage 4 stomach cancer as soon as I turned 30. It's a very emotionally, physically, mentally draining year. 2025 was when I kind of dealt with the thick of it, with chemo, surgeries, and everything. It started off vague. It was heartburn, reflux, and then it got worse. And I'm actually also a physician assistant, so I have the unique perspective of like diagnosing myself. So I actually felt like I delayed getting care because honestly, these symptoms are so vague, and I thought, I'm 30, maybe I'm starting to get some heartburn, and so I just kind of wrote it off, took some Tums, did some Pepcid, some over-the-counter stuff, but my husband was actually the one I was like, that's not really normal, you're starting to throw up more often, like you should probably see someone. So I think being a provider has pros and cons to it because there's a lot of medical terminology and jargon that I understood, But then I think part of me is like, oh no, common things are common. Zebras are zebras, and I'm apparently a zebra. So being diagnosed at 30, no risk factors, no family history, no genetic mutations, never smoked, didn't drink, and still ended up with stage 4 cancer. But I'm really grateful to be doing as well as I am right now, because it was a very quick diagnosis, but also surprisingly quick recovery. I had my major surgery back in June, and since then I've been in remission. So in about 6 months, within a year, found out I was stage 4, chemo, surgery, potentially, survivor, but we'll see how things go.
You're a survivor today, that's for sure, right? That's fantastic. Okay, did you really think I wasn't going to get to you here? This is the best part of my job, I just want you to know. What is your name?
My name is Shamaya Williams. I've been dealing with this for over a year. My doctors and the hospital I went to, they basically gave me the runaround. I asked for tests to be done when I went to the hospital. I knew that I was sick. I knew from the research that I had stomach cancer before any doctor told me anything. Like, she knew about her symptoms. I'm no doctor, I'm no educational person, but I'm a food service assistant. So I know a lot about food, so I know what it can do to you and you leave food out and things like that. But I never thought that I would have to deal with something like this. Just working with food, like I said, you get sick from kids and things like that, so that's what I thought it was, just a stomach bug. But it turned out to be stage 4 stomach cancer. I'm fighting every day. 7 rounds of chemo. No, I just had my PET scan, CT scans, and it went down by 4 centimeters, so chemo is working. God is real. I just want everybody to know that even though it's going slow, I know that God is real, and that's been my number one. My kids been my number one, keep me going every day. Just being young has put the fight in me, because I thought this was an old person cancer. But it affects anybody, any age, and that's the serious part about it, that it affects anybody, any color, any race. And that's why I thought I was being put off, because of my color. And I looked up, and it wasn't just me. It was everybody from any race. So just know that everybody's not alone fighting this fight.
There you go. Good job. So think of this. I love when you said, I'm a food service worker, and we all know when we leave food out what it can do to our stomachs. But this is what happened to me. Now that takes that, everybody is right with you on leaving food out and how you get sick to your stomach or whatever, and then you made that turn. That was fantastic. I thought that was a great way to do that. Also, I think when you're talking, especially with people of faith, that you put that in there for sure, and you testify to your level of wherever you're comfortable. That's what I'm trying to say. That's really, really important. And then you and Frank have a lot in common with the second opinion stuff, that's for sure, right? And you being a provider, holy moly, right? Ironic is right, yes. I think that's exactly it. It was ironic. And that's another one. If there's something happened to you that's ironic, I should have known. No, wait, I shouldn't have known. That's not right, because there's no guilt with this type of thing. But the point is that I didn't know because I didn't have the information and I wasn't paying attention that much at that point. Would you say that would be correct? How would you put it?
Honestly, I put myself in as a provider. So if a patient came to me with my background, my symptoms, having no risk factors, I mean, the first thing I thought was, oh, maybe it's long COVID, because I had gotten COVID over the summer. Then I started having heartburn, and apparently like 25% to like a third of patients have GI symptoms as long COVID symptoms. And so I'm like, oh, that must be it. Let me try over-the-counter stuff. Let me not jump to conclusions. But in school, the one thing you learn about stomach cancer is refractory symptoms to over-the-counter like PPIs or like Pepcid, like H2. Sorry, that's a little too much jargon, but basically like refractory to over-the-counter medications. And so in my head, I'm like, there's no way. Like, there's no way that I'm, 30 years old with no risk factors and have stomach cancer. It must just be like something else. So I think sometimes, like it's hard to know, like hindsight 2020 kind of thing, but I guess I just tried to like reason myself out of it, and then I got the worst case scenario. But again, hindsight 2020, I'm glad to be doing as well as I am now, and I advocated for myself during my treatments, and that's all I could do.
Good for you. Good for you. Now, you said something which is interesting and something that I want you all to be aware of. I've heard words refractory to over-the-counter medication. I don't know what that means. Now, I listened to everything you said, so I understand that basically you didn't respond. Would that be? Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. It just means that like your symptoms are not getting better despite using like over-the-counter medication.
Exactly. So what I want you all to be very comfortable with, there's a word that you really feel comfortable using. I hear the word surveillance with cancer patients all the time. You should be able to use any of those words, but if it's not a word that your grandmother would understand, put a little definition after it and say, that's what this means. Or, so for surveillance, I'm going to have to go in and be scanned for the next 3 months or 6 months or every 3 months for as long as I'm here. That's what but put that in, because people, when they're hearing your story, will stop and say, the heck does that mean? I'm not sure I understand what that means. So that's another thing that'll stop the story. But I think for both of these ladies, you got their why, you got their passion. Now we have to work on getting the story down, right? Because in order to do the story well, you want to get the why, you want to get the passion, you want to get, are you kidding? That's your third thing. Then you want to get a little bit of the details, and then you want to get that call to action in there of whatever you want them to do. Frank wants them to go get a second opinion, right? That's what you want them to do, right? Okay. Priscilla wants them to get tested if they have somebody in their family that has it. Claudio wants to make sure that if you were in 9/11, you're watching out for this and you're getting tested all the time to make sure that you're okay. Is that fair to say? Okay? That's really important. What do you want people to know? Mr. Andy?
Well, for me, I kind of actually have the same story a little bit as Frank. I started having symptoms back in 2019, right during COVID, and was not able to get in to see a doctor for about 1.5 years. And then once I finally got in, I was misdiagnosed as having heart issues. And after that, I was put on some heart medications that didn't help any sort of pain that I was having or heartburn or things like that. So they took a second look and gave me an endoscopy and colonoscopy. And sure enough, by that time, I had stage 4 cancer. Had it spread to my lymph nodes, my liver, and 90% of my body, actually. It was on the surface of my bones. So I was literally lit up like a Christmas tree. I remember seeing the scans still to this day, and everything was just glowing. So I think early detection is certainly key. I think back in 2019, if I was able to get in to see a doctor, I probably had stage 1 cancer at that point, and I wouldn't have to go through 27 rounds of chemo and 60-something rounds of immunotherapy as well. So definitely early detection is key.
Thank you, sir. And hope. That's the other thing that I hear that you want to give people. Okay, who at this table wants to talk with me? And who wants to run away? Dawn? You know, your name tag should never be sitting on this side where somebody like me can see it.
Okay.
Now think about what we talked about.
Right. Yes, please bear with me. I am not eloquent by any means, and I tend to ramble. I do need a definite closer, like pull me off stage. Okay, so where do I begin? What's my elevator spiel?
Who are you and why do I need to
Great. My name is Dawn, and I am 43 years old. In September of 2024, September 26th of 2024, I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy who was our surprise blessing. And on September 30th, I was diagnosed with stomach cancer. For the last trimester of my pregnancy, I wasn't well, and I was throwing up regularly every day, and we couldn't figure out why. Attributed it to the pregnancy, but baby was good, and he pushed through. Our bodies are amazing, and he was nourished. I was not. I started to be dehydrated. I lost weight. My electrolytes are off, and I had him a month early. But again, we missed the NICU, and he's doing well, and he's thriving. I also have a 9-year-old boy and a 10-year-old boy, and we were done after the 10 and the 9-year-old. But God had other plans, and I don't ever want them to have to go through this. I now know that I am CDH1 positive, and my mother is CDH1 positive as well. I think some say ignorance is bliss. I had never heard those terms, HDGC or CDH1, and now I know. Now I know all too much about these things. So I'm here for that, for early detection, prevention, cures, and I'm also here because of all of you. I've learned so much and have been able to advocate for myself and seek out different opinions that I know have saved my life. I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for the stomach cancer community to have been here and me to countless, incessantly spend hours scrolling, talking to people and reading posts and reading your stories, and reading about the best of the best, and the different treatments and doctors and centers of excellence and all of it. So thank you, and I'm going to keep fighting.
Best close of the night. I'm going to keep fighting. Yep. Excellent. Okay. That was hard, wasn't it? You did an amazing job. Right to your neck. I watched it come, and yet you touched everybody in this room. And I think that's absolutely amazing. So you are making a difference with your story. Absolutely. Okay. Do we have questions about, I have a story and this happens, or I'm uncomfortable telling my story, or can you help me tell your story? Because you are in a room of people right now, all of whom can use watching other people learn, and it will help them too. So is there anybody here who I haven't gone over and grabbed? There are quite a few of you actually that I haven't come to yet. Who says, man, I would really like to tell my story. Nobody? Okay, well, then I'm coming back over. I'm sorry. This gentleman here, I have been seeing since the very beginning, and I didn't get to meet you. Ira, how are you? How about telling me your story? Sure you can.
I am a cancer survivor. On February 24th, 2023, I had my full stomach removed, so I recently made my 3-year anniversary. Also, yesterday on March 6th, I went in for my 6-month CAT scan for the chest, abdomen, and pelvic areas, and it was NED, which is great also. I kind of kid around and also serious at the same time. I never got COVID. I was in New York in hospitals and traveling down to Florida where my father was sick when he was in rehab in hospitals, on planes back and forth. Never got it, but I got the other big C, cancer. I could say a number of things, but shortly after I was diagnosed and I started receiving chemotherapy, you know, this was months before I actually had the surgery, and I actually had 3 opinions before it finally clicked in my head that I needed the full stomach removed and not just part of the stomach removed. There were always these 2 Iras battling it out, especially at the beginning. There was the Ira who was, I guess, more submissive, like a better way of putting it, that was having this survivor guilt. Why me? What makes me so special? Why am I why is there a chance that I'll survive? I knew many people in my life long before I was diagnosed, much younger than me when they were diagnosed, that never made it. Even a good friend who lost her 6-year-old child years ago in the 1990s when the child was only 6 from leukemia. So that was always going on in my mind. And at the same time, the other Ira was the more dominant Ira. The Ira who said, I'm going to kick cancer's butt, I'm going to take it down, I'm going to win, I'm going to see the light at the end of the tunnel, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I might not win at the end, but I am going to do whatever it takes so I can look back and say I fought the hardest fight in my life up until that point. And at some point, I'm not sure exactly when, the more dominant Ira took over the submissive Ira, and it started prevailing, and it got me through more rounds of chemo and dealing with, you know, chemo was fine, but when you're sitting there and you're taking a shower like a day or 2 later, and you're washing your hair, and you get beautiful clumps of your red afro in your hair and you start breaking down, or you're rubbing your beard. I had a lot more hair on my beard than I have my face than I have right now, and it's coming off. It's definitely a reality check, but I got stronger. I'm still on that journey. I lost a lot of weight. I still have digestive issues. The neuropathy still kicks in, especially in the morning in my lower legs and my feet and so on. But I was out of work for a while, but I went back to work and working full time. And I'm going to continue being, being strong and, counting my blessings, family and friends, colleagues, great organizations like this and so on. And I'm just going to continue being a fighter and be there for anyone I can as an advocate, as a friend, as a confidant, and so on. Thank you.
Wonderful. I don't know if the world's ready for 2 Iras. What do you guys think? He says he's not sure whether they're ready for 1 Ira. Okay. So let's go back for just a second. Thinking about your why, Ira wants to give hope, right? That's Ira's why, okay? So we've got that. We've got clinical trials are incredibly important. And I'm going to tell you, as a communicator, there's a tremendous amount of this country that doesn't even know what a clinical trial means, or they think you're just a guinea pig. We're working constantly on educating about that. So that's a really important one. Second opinions are really important. Young people, there needs to be more research for young people, right? There's a number of reasons of your why. Then it's the aha moment, okay? So think about, what is that aha moment? And if you can't think of an aha moment, then use that analogy tip where you're thinking about, and if you just want to use the stadium tip, that one always gets people, okay? So you can always use that. It's a great way to kind of break the ice. Or if you happen to have a seahorse around, that also helps too. So that's a good thing, okay? Think about who you're talking to and what matters to them. If you're talking to a legislator from California and you live in California and it's the stomach cancer capital of the United States, man, pull that right out. Pull that right out. And then your story. Your story in a sentence or 2, which is really hard to do. But it's the part of your story where you talk about, I'm still here, I'm still fighting. I want to give hope to other people. I want other people to know about this. I want to raise awareness. And together, we can save lives. And one of the ways we can do that is if you can find out more information, and you can go to the Hope for Stomach Cancer website, which is stocan.org, which Stocan, if you think about it, means stomach cancer. And then you're done. And you will have just made such an impression on whoever you're talking to, whether it's the person in the elevator, whether it's the person sitting next to you in the Uber, whether you're at a cocktail party, or whether you're with the media. And I am telling you, when you get that aha, when you figure out what that aha is, or even if you don't have the aha yet and you're going to try things out, and the stadium thing works, you'll hear that on the news. You'll see that in the quote. Every journalist in America is looking for that sound. That's the exact sound. But they're looking for it because they want to keep their jobs. And the way they keep their jobs is when they get people to watch their stories because their stories are so good. And you just became the person who made that story sing. And they'll come back to you time and time again. And think of the number of people who you can impact by talking to the media. It's a huge opportunity. And the other thing is, you do not have to worry about them being weird or coming after you. They want these stories, okay? And people want to hear your stories because there's not a person in here who isn't the face of hope for stomach cancer. Not one of you. Every last one of you represents this community, and you represent it beautifully. So thank you for letting me take your time this afternoon or this evening now. And I really hope that you think about your story because you can make such a difference. Let me rephrase that. You already do every day. Let's just make it have even more impact. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Diane. That now concludes our evening. Is this working? Dinner will be served until 7:30 if anyone hasn't eaten yet. Tonight we have an exciting activity that is completely optional. We have a nighttime trolley tour experience of the monuments for the first 49 people who are interested. To get to the trolley, take the North Tower elevators just outside of the reception hall to the lower lobby. We'll depart at 7:30 and return at 10:30. Tomorrow morning, breakfast will be served starting at 8 a.m. and available until 10 a.m. in the reception hall. If you've received an invitation to a focus group, those will begin at 9:30 in the Liberty and Victory rooms. Just a reminder that these are private groups. Our main session will begin in the Empowerment Theater at 11 a.m. Tonight is daylight savings time. Don't forget the clock moves forward 1 hour. Thank you for joining us today.